break this down. So let's break this format down. This is usually called the URL. This entire address is called the URL, or Uniform Resource Locator. So this address locates something or some sort of resource in that address. So this address located a web page. So this address went to Facebook's server and it located the home page of Facebook, and then it downloaded that page on my Safari browser. So basically, this uniform resource locator locates some sort of resource, in this case a web page, from the web server. If it can't find it, then it will show you some sort of error. Now, the format of this URL is something like it first defines what sort of protocol or which path it's going to take. The path that I'm talking about is which channel it's going to take. So in this case, we were talking about it's an HTTP channel. HTTP and HTTPS is there is a basic difference between them. We won't go very deep into the discussion. HTTP does not use any form of it has weak security. HTTPS, on the other hand, uses an SSL layer. It's much more secure. So if anyone tries to trespass, or if anyone tries to break your request and the response, if anyone tries to break this request and response channels, then it would be hard for them when it comes to sending requests and response through an HTTPS channel. But it's very easy when you're using an HTTP channel that does not have any sort of security layer. So Facebook is using HTTPS because whenever you enter an email address, it needs to have some sort of corresponding passwords. So a password is a sensitive form of credential information. So you don't want anyone else to break into your Facebook account. So that might be a huge problem when someone else does it. So in that case, Facebook needs to ensure that the channel that the channel through which the request and the response will occur is actually a secure channel. It is ensuring that by providing you with a secure SSL layer, and it's forming that HTTP into an HTTPS channel. Now there are other parts. The first part is this protocol. Protocol is just the channel that we were talking about. Now there is this domain name. There can be other format if we are navigating to other pages, but this thing, www.facebook.com, is known as the domain name. So this domain name is the identifier, or somewhat like the identifier, which means it identifies the resource. Every resource has a unique name. It's just like a human being having a name. With the name, we can identify who that human being is. If your friend will have one sort of name, your dad's going to have another name, your mom's going to have another name. So you can distinguish them through their names, through their the way they look, and all the other details. So a web page is part of a website. So that website needs to have something of an identifier through which we can identify it. So that identifier needs to be that identifier is known as the domain name, and it needs to be something unique. So the name Facebook.com is unique, so we can understand it refers to Facebook's server. It refers to the website that's stored in Facebook's server. So if we try to navigate to the terms page, suppose, you'll find that we get something. We get in previously we didn't get anything. So if you look carefully, there was nothing else after the domain name. But right now, if we navigate to the terms page, we see that we find something called policies and all these weird looking characters. We won't be discussing about this because this requires a knowledge, an in-depth knowledge of programming languages, but perhaps this will be of interest to us. After the domain name, this is the protocol. It defines which what type of channel it's going to take. Then it's going to name it's going to identify the website's name, and then it's going to look inside that website. Every website has certain files. Every web server has some sort of folders. So the root folder has the name has the same name as the domain name, but there can be other folders. So to refer to the other folders, like we have got a folder, we have got a subfolder, like suppose this is sorry about that. So let's consider the samples to be the root folder. So inside that root folder, suppose this root folder is also the public folder and it has the same name as facebook.com. And whenever we try to navigate to simply facebook.com, we only see the channel, we only see the protocol name and the domain name. So the domain name is basically a root folder like this. We're considering it to be a root folder, although it's not, but let's consider this to be the root folder. So whenever we navigate to the root folder, we're actually navigating, whenever we navigate to this domain name, we're actually navigating to the root folder, so it's the other way around. And when we call the root folder or the domain name, the index page by default gets called whenever we try to whenever we type in any form of domain name. But perhaps just like the previous time when we wanted to navigate to the terms page, we clicked on the terms. Likewise, suppose that we had another folder called terms. Let's create one. So okay, if you look carefully, it's after the domain name we have got a / along with policies and a /. So this policies refers to a path. It's a path inside the web server. It's a path that's directing us towards a specific file. So there is a specific file that's stored inside this policies folder, policies path. So the path is a file system. It's a location inside the file system on the web server on which the entire website of Facebook is being hosted. So this refers to some sort of path. In here too, if we navigate just to the root folder, we will only get the index file. But if we try to navigate into another subdirectory or a subfolder, then we will have to append something like /CSS. Because this is not a full-fledged website, I can't really show you how it would work in a real situation. I only have the web page, and it does not have any sort of logic. But because Facebook is a full-fledged website, they have their own path, they have their own file names. So inside that policies folder, you'll see first it goes to the root folder, which is same as the domain name, and then it adds a /. It then links it then directs to a deeper subfolder. It again adds another forward slash and it points to a certain file. It's actually pointing to a certain file. So this file exists inside this policies folder, and this is the file that we are now viewing. It's the file that that's showing us um, all these buttons and all these links. So this is what we get from an uniform resource locator or the URL. So this entire thing is known as the URL.